Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. Happy Sunday, you guys. I'm pleased to have you here for the show. I can't wait to get into what we have going on in the world of sports. Magnificent weekend for the world of sports here in sunny South Florida, guys. Buccaneers win, Dolphins win, Gators win, FSU won, Miami won. The list goes on and on. Just a lot of W's this week and a lot of reasons to be excited. That's why you see the orange and blue right here, guys. But realistically, we also have some work to be done in the NHL and the NBA. Unfortunately, the Bolts and the Panthers are struggling a little bit, although they're still playing well. They're just not playing as well as they've played over the last couple years. We'll get into that more. And, of course, the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat, starting to really figure themselves out and find an identity, even fighting through injuries. Very proud of those two teams. But again, guys, all that and so much more to come on this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. So keep it locked here at IE Sports Radio for all your sports needs, guys. And we'll be back after the intro. See you guys in a few. Sorry about that. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. And I am pleased to have you guys on the show this evening. Palm Tree Sports Radio, brought to you by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. It's a wonderful Sunday in the world of sports coming out of Florida. We are going to talk about the W's in the NFL. We are going to talk about the W's in the NCAA college football rankings right now, which has just been completely blown up for the SEC. And we'll get into that and why later this evening. Of course, we're going to talk NBA, NCAA basketball as well. The Gators are 6-0 to start the season, so they are playing very, very well. I actually got to catch their game against Southern Illinois yesterday, so that was really, really good to watch, fun to watch. And then, of course, we're going to dive into the NHL, the NBA, of course, and the MLS, because Orlando City is still in there. They actually defeated Atlanta United. So, of course, we're going to get into that. And again, so much more, guys. But first things first, as you guys might already know, if you guys are on social media, you guys are going to want to follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Whatever it is that your platform is for social media, you can follow us at IE Sports Radio. That is at IE Sports Radio. For the website, iesportsradio.com is going to be the umbrella to where you can find all the links, all the information to all of our shows, not just my show, but all the other shows included under the IE Sports Radio umbrella. Of course, Palm Tree Sports included. So for the website for merch, it's going to be IE Sports Radio /shop. That's going to be where you can get all of your merch as far as shirts, hats, etc., whatever it is that you're looking for. I'm pretty sure we can find that for you, and we have it on that website, www.iesportsradio.com/shop, guys. And then if you are looking for podcasts, it doesn't matter, in fact, where you get your podcast from, whether it's Spreaker, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I listen to Apple Podcasts, where I can run my shows back, kind of just see what I'm doing, see what I can improve on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be where you can be able to find all the shows under IE Sports Radio's umbrella, guys. And then, of course, for our sponsors this evening is going to be Planet Jerky, the beef jerky that's on a whole nother planet, guys. It's actually really good beef jerky. I actually did get to try it, and absolutely phenomenal product there. And the crazy part about it is my son's actually a beef jerky guy, so maybe I can convert him over, over to Planet Jerky. So that's what I'll be working on that next. And then, of course, Seal the Deal wax seals by our very own Cecilia B. Phenomenal work there. And of course, with that being said, we're going to actually get into a message from our sponsor. So keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, this is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As I mentioned before, guys, happy Sunday. It's a blessed Sunday down here in South Florida, so it's actually gotten kind of cold the last 2 days. Cold by generalistic standards. I'm enjoying it personally, but it definitely was in the 40s. For the last couple of days, and then it warmed up, about 65, which is just beautiful weather. We actually sat outside to watch the Bucks game while we had lunch today, which was pizza. Little Caesars is actually the pizza for the Buccaneers, so kind of double support there, watching the game and eating the brand that follows the team. But guys, before we jump into everything, let's go ahead and jump into the chat, guys. I always like to do this before we get started with everything. So first things first, usual suspects up in the house. T-Roz, good to see you, my friend. Dad, always a pleasure. And Larry B, the absolute legend. Yes, let's have an amazing show, guys. And Yeah, the Jags didn't lose Aaron on a bye, so it is. So when you're a Jaguars fan, the bye week is a W, right? Because you can't lose, right? You can't lose. You can only get a little bit more healthy, at least in theory, right? It's theory crafting, but you get healthy. You get an extra week to kind of game plan. You think that would amount to something. Whether it will or will not, I don't want to speculate simply because this team has underperformed all year long. And let's just be honest, the team hasn't been the same since Trevor Lawrence got injured, right? So, yes, Dad, it's a great day to be a Florida Gator. We are singing Tom Petty in the Hills, guys. And, of course, the Buccaneers getting back on track today. Just a monumental weekend for W's here in Florida. I mean, there's not too many other ways to look at it, right? So, all right, let's see who else we got in here. All right, so usual suspects, like I said. Big pleasure to have all you guys here. And yeah, I actually do want to do that. Shouts for those of you who can see the comments. Both my parents, my mother and my father, actually celebrated 31 years of marriage today. So congratulations to you guys. I love you. Thank you so much. Me and my sister are so proud of you guys for making it this far and still continuing to be a standard out there that marriage is a thing and it can work. You know, it takes a lot of work, but it can work. And my folks are an example of that. And I love you guys and my heart goes out to y'all. Oh yeah, and happy birthday, Uncle Brian. Uncle Brian, I'm pretty sure you'll hear this at some point. Uncle Brian, thank you for your service as always, and happy birthday to you. And I wish you many, many more. May the Lord place those years on your side instead of take them away. You know, so that is my hope for you. I hope you hear that. You know, so all love over here, Unks. All love over here, Theo. So with all the pleasantries out of the way, let's talk about it, guys. So the Buccaneers, they go into New York today, New York, New Jersey. For those of you who are familiar with the area, the Buccaneers pick up a win, 30-7, be the score of that ball game. It was just absolutely a dog walk, if you will. Here's the deal. Before we get into the details, it's just important to realize that, yes, on paper, the Buccaneers have 4 straight losses, right? So you're thinking like, oh, man, this team's shot. They don't have what it takes. But, guys, go back and look at those games. Out of those 4 games, 3 of them should have been dubs. 3 of them were just, you know, kind of what happens when you don't execute enough, and then you have to play more than just the football team, right? And yes, unfortunately, it's the truth. But the referees have been an issue today. It's not just with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's been with a ton of other teams, especially after today, like watching so many football games, guys. I watched like the second half of the Washington Cowboys game. It was a complete, utter chaotic mess. I saw the beginning of the 49ers and the Packers game. Like there was just so much going on. I'm not saying all those games had terrible officiating, but I'm just saying when you have so many games with so much validity at this point in the season, obviously we're in November approaching December. This is basically the 2 months that are going to shape the playoff picture moving forward. It's important to have balance. And I feel like that's been a growing issue in the NFL. And I'm going to use my platform to exercise my issues with the officiating in the NFL because it's been atrocious, guys. It's been atrocious. That aside, Baker Mayfield goes 24 of 30. And I did say 24 of 30. This guy had only 6 incomplete passes the entire game. So it's absolutely stunning, right? But he goes 6 of 30, 24 of 30. I'm sorry, 6. I'm getting ahead of myself. 294 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he did have a rushing touchdown. The rushing touchdown was something straight out of a Steve Young highlight clip. For those of you who remember Steve Young from back in the late 80s and the early 90s, he was the best running quarterback in the NFL during that time frame, and he often scored multiple touchdowns in a season using his legs, and that was kind of reminiscent of Steve Young, that run that Baker Mayfield had. It was a great run. He did go airborne. He came down a little scary, but he's Baker. He's a dog. He's going to fight, and he's going to stay in the fight. So he did very, very well. On the latter part of where all these touchdowns came from would actually be all the running backs. So, in fact, all 3 of the Buccaneers running backs listed on the depth chart as starters. So what I mean by that is obviously not on the practice squad, but the 3 running backs who are listed to play all got into the end zone. So Bucky Irving was most impressive for today. Bucky Irving actually goes 12 carries, 81 yards, which is a 7.2 average per carry. Absolutely insane. He scored a touchdown. He actually had a ton of yards in the air as well, including a very long. So he had a long run and a long screen pass that set up the Buccaneers beautifully on both occasions. We only scored on one of those, which would have been the screen pass. On the long run, unfortunately, we did fumble the football, and so that was unfortunate. But the score, quite frankly, should have been 37 to zip, realistically speaking. But I'm not going to complain. The running backs did their thing. The Buccaneers performed very, very well. Defensive mass, I think, was 5 sacks. They got to the quarter. They got home very, very consistently. Vita Vea is just an absolute monster. He just kind of continued to blow up the game. He even came in on offense to block on one of the rushing touchdowns. So that was a lot of fun to see that. For those of you who may not remember, the Buccaneers actually used to do that back in the day when they had Warren Sapp. They would bring him and they call it U personnel, which was University of Miami, because that's where Warren Sapp went. And so, yeah, that was an example, kind of an homage to that scenario. So that was really, really cool to see them do that, guys. So the Buccaneers have a relatively easy schedule moving forward. I'm sorry about being late on that. But the Buccaneers have a relatively easy schedule moving forward. We have to play the Saints, who obviously they're not playing well right now. The tough game is going to be the Saints and Carolina, right? We still have to play those two teams, but the tough game still to play is going to be against the Chargers. Chargers still playing really, really good football. I've always been a big Justin Herbert fan. I think the guy still has what it takes. So I have that game circled as a potential shootout. That's exactly what I think it's going to be. Actually, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think obviously the Bucs have the opportunity to win the game, but it's just going to depend how our defense plays. I think at the end of the day, I think that our offense is just potent enough to put up 30 points against anybody. And I think that, it's just going to depend on how the defense plays. But the other games, again, we got to go see Carolina. We got to see the Raiders. We have to see the Saints, like I said. This schedule is a favorable schedule down the line. If the Buccaneers can find a way to win out, they may very well find themselves in the playoffs. They have a tiebreaker with a potential playoff team right now in Washington, who just suffered a debilitating loss themselves. So, there's a lot to look forward to here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But right now, it's just about taking it one game at a time, trying to stack these performances and stack momentum, play the game that we play best, and let's see if we can make this playoff run and get in there and try to do some damage. Obviously, right now, the Lions look like the best team in the NFL, and it's going to be hard to move them off the top spot, but that one loss that they do have is to the Buccaneers. And if there's a team that can get it done, that would be my bet. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's see what happens the rest of this season. I have a lot of faith in this team. I have a lot of love for this team. Mike Evans came back. He had 68 yards receiving, led the Buccaneers receivers in receiving yards, actually was not able to sniff the end zone, but still there. He needed 95 per game to get to 1,000. So it's looking like it's going to be a bit of a struggle if possible for him to get there. But I think that, given the injury and the fact that he actually missed multiple weeks, actually, in fact, almost a month worth of time, that it's just an understandable thing. It's not really something that you can do about it, So just hoping that he's good, that he's truly healthy, and that he can, just finish this season for us on a high note and help carry this franchise as long as he can into the future. I think that's what the hope is for all of us here in Tampa Bay. Oh yeah, it was a beatdown. It was, Larry. It was an absolute masterclass on offense for the most part. From Baker Mayfield, both on the feet and through the air. But yeah, you're right on the money, Dad. And for those of you who are not familiar with Bucky Irving's work, all I can tell you is go look at his highlights. I to use words to describe what we're witnessing every week from this rookie, from this, I think, 5th round draft pick. And for reference, my father and I, we watch a ton of sports together, like a ton. And one team that we're impartial to is Oregon. So we had the pleasure of watching this guy for 2 years there at Oregon. He was an absolute monster. He was just so good after contact. And not only that, but had the hips and the knees and the ankles of a Barry Sanders. And again, you just have to go look at the highlights. If you think I'm playing, which you just got to go see the work for yourself. But yeah, absolutely huge steal draft pick for the Buccaneers. And I love this 3-headed monster at running back that we have. So Chargers do play the Falcons next week. Okay, Chargers, well, we need y'all to do us a favor. We need y'all to beat the Falcons and then lose to us in that order. Okay, boys. But yeah, so you got what's going on there with the Buccaneers. Basically, they're in a great position to try to make the playoffs here in this late run, but they're gonna have to probably go undefeated the rest of the way. If they can do that, it just puts them in such an astronomical spot for a playoff berth, and I think that they'll be able to get it with the way the NFC's been playing this year. The Jaguars. So as we were talking about earlier in the chat, guys, Jaguars didn't lose today because they didn't play today, which is a win, right? So I say that to say that for where the Jaguars are right now at 2-9, okay, knowing that they still have to play the Texans again, they have to play the Colts again. Obviously, with 9 losses, their season is over. But at this point, they're playing for an identity. They're playing for something to build upon. And right now, it just doesn't seem like there's much of anything there. They are currently number 1 as far as 2025 draft is concerned. They are literally the first draft pick holding team right now. And barring if they can find another win, they will stay that way. If things just continue to stay the same, they will stay the number 1 draft pick. And the question is, well, what are they going to do with it? Because, of course, Trevor Lawrence does not seem to be the answer at quarterback. Now, for reference, Trevor Lawrence just hasn't been the same since the injuries he suffered last year. And I think that's the real reason for the struggles that they're having on offense. But realistically, when you look at the NFL, it's not like college where you can bring in another quarterback and then he can just lift the team up and help the team perform better, as we've seen with the University of Florida and even with FSU. And Miami, all three teams, all three big teams in college football actually are a testament to that, but the Jaguars are not. And I think that's the big issue here. I don't think that the defense is as bad as the offense is, but I do realize that when the defense is out there for prolonged periods of time, that mistakes are going to happen, not to mention injuries. So I think that right now that the Jaguars need to figure out a offensive identity if they want to have any success next year. The theory is that they're probably going to get rid of Doug Peterson, I think it is, the head coach. And that Bill Belichick seems to be the favorite for the job right now. The Jaguars getting Bill Belichick would actually be a very, very big deal because now you're having somebody who is proven, somebody who is a defensive-minded coach and has the ability to implement strategy from a defensive perspective that allows the offense to be successful. And what I mean by that is all those years that Brady was at New England, one thing that really, really helped him, regardless of Brady's my favorite football player ever. Okay, he's my favorite quarterback. He's my favorite football player. It was a dream for him to play in Tampa Bay. Understand this: defenses help him out too. Okay, the defense tends to be the reason why he always has a shot to win the game. I'm not saying that obviously he's not Tom. He is Tom, but just think about that for a second. If Tom was only ever in shootouts, I don't know if he still wins 7 Super Bowls. I'm not saying that he wouldn't. I'm saying I don't know if he does if he was ever in just shootouts. But you look at these teams, you look at these defenses, and you realize, yeah, these Patriot defenses for the most part stepped up when they needed to, except for against the Giants. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth, right? They're 0-2 against the Giants in Super Bowls. But you get what I'm saying. Obviously, the Jaguars aren't. They're just a very dense, very dark place. It doesn't get too much easier for them. They're getting ready to go see the Texans next week. This Texans team is 7-5 right now, and atop the AFC South. A very bad AFC South right now, but still atop the division. I just don't see the Jaguars winning that game. And of course, with the Texans winning that game and then rounding out the Texans season, I think they have to play Indianapolis one more time. That will clinch them the division, regardless of what the record is for the rest of the teams. So just take that in consideration, guys, when you're looking at the Jaguars. This season is shot. Basically, the point is to focus on what they can do in the draft, focus on what they can improve on in the draft with the number 1 overall pick. Is that I think that's where my head would be right now. You finish the season, you see what you can salvage from what's left of the season. But realistically speaking, the Jaguars have no place right now anywhere in the middle or upper echelon of the NFL, and they have proved that since Trevor Lawrence's injuries last year. That's my synopsis. That's what I'm rocking with. Hopefully they can get Bill Belichick because unfortunately I don't think Doug Peterson is the answer. The Eagles were clearly, right to move on from him, and it looks like the Jaguars are going to be doing the same, if not before the end of the season, by the end of the season. So expect that. Fins. All right. So quick check over to the chats. Yep. Okay. So first things first, yes, we do have a running game, Dad. Isn't it wonderful? And what I love about it is three completely different type of running backs. You have Rachaad White, who's the tall, great maneuvering after the catch running back, but, more of a north-south runner. You have, Bucky Irving, who is the human joystick of the team. He literally just does Barry Sanders type Madden stuff, and then it works. And then there's like a 50-yard gain, or like this, 30-yard reception for a touchdown. And then, of course, you have Sean Tucker, who's the bruising back. He's the guy who, when contact is involved, much like Bucky, when contact is involved, he's going to shed it, but he's more likely to go through you than around you. So the Chargers will have the Bucs week next week. Hey, listen, the Bucs back next week. My dyslexic behind. I'm sorry. Yeah, I fully suspect that you always have. Oh, you guys should have known by now, but I am very impartial to the Chargers. That is one of the teams in the NFL that I do look at, and I say I hope you guys win as long as you guys don't play against Tampa Bay. So much love out there to the Chargers. We will be rooting for y'all truly. Next week against Atlanta, because we hate the Falcons. Yeah, screw the Falcons. Screw that crappy franchise. I'm trying to be respectful. Screw that team, okay? Don't like that team at all. They suck. No, the only team I hate more than that is the Saints. And perhaps the Cowboys. I don't really like the Cowboys either. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Defense is what got Brady's 6th ring. I 100% agree with that. And I'd also say that, again, without defense, it really doesn't matter what quarterback we're talking about. Without defense, it's going to be hard to win games. Like that's just what it comes down to. So Dolphins, right? So Dolphins get back into the winning track today. Let's talk about it. Nobody's talking about how good Tua Tagovailoa has been since his return from injury. I'll be the first one to say, obviously, I've just been so scared for him because obviously we've all seen, I don't say I have, we have all seen the concussions, right? So 3 concussions in the span of just over a year for him. 2 of them last year were devastating. The one earlier this year was also devastating. But what's equally as impressive as him returning from those injuries is his performances since. He's got Miami on a 3-game win streak after pulling out a W against the Patriots today. Not to be outdone, obviously the Patriots are rocking a 3-9 record. They're not exactly playing really, really good football. But shouts out to the Finns for putting up 34 points. The score is 34-15. But Tua Tagovailoa goes off. He goes nutty. He goes 29 of 40 for 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. When you do that, you're going to win games. I said that last week, and we said that the week before. When Tua's playing like this, Miami is almost unstoppable, okay? And this is without Tyreek Hill here having the game that he was having. This was actually Jalen Waddle having the game of his life. I won't say game of his life, but he did go off 8 receptions, 144 yards, and a touchdown. It's good to have him back, right? Both of those guys, because at one point, Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa were both injured. And you had Skylar, what's his name? Skylar Thompson throwing it to Tyreek Hill, who's also injured with a wrist injury, who's waiting to have surgery at the end of the season. So if you guys were wondering why Tyreek only has like 4 catches for 48 yards or something like that, it's because they're trying to use him more so as a decoy due to the injury. But knowing that he is still there is just he's a threat at any time because of his speed, and he doesn't need to really worry about his wrist to run fast. So that's just something to take into consideration from the football perspective as to why he's still out there. So the next game for the Fins is not going to get any easier. They're going to go see the Packers, who just destroyed the San Francisco 49ers. Those are 2 more teams that I actually have a lot of love for right there. But the 49ers completely devastated by injury. And, it's unfortunate, but the Packers are just, they're rolling right now. They're 8-3 in the best and toughest division in NFL football right now, which is the NFC North. I look forward to seeing all 3 of those teams make the playoffs. I can't wait to see 2 of those teams play each other for a third time. I've always been a fan of seeing a third when it comes to those kind of rivalry division games, especially in the playoffs. If you guys remember way back when the Packers won the Super Bowl, they actually had to play against the Bears in the playoffs a third time. And I think the Bears actually won those 2 regular season meetings. And then in the postseason, Aaron Rodgers went off, and then they were able to beat Chicago, and then en route to claiming their first Super Bowl under Aaron Rodgers at quarter. So, but yeah, that game's going to be Thursday, November 28th at 8:20 p.m. So Thursday night football is a 50-50 thing for Miami. They usually play well, but they've also suffered big injuries at nighttime football, whether it's been Monday night, Sunday night, or Thursday night. So they need to be very, very careful under the moonlight when they're playing, and just play a solid game, and hopefully they can come away with a win against the Packers. Of course, the Packers win, I won't be upset, but That's a tough team. They're going to go out there and play a very good Packers defense as well. Something that's not been talked about enough this year is how well their defense has played. So go Pack, go. Good luck, Fins. Going to be a great game. I hope that it's just I really hope it's a shootout. I hope both these guys just trade punches. So I'm looking forward to that, guys. But that's what I got for you for the NFL, guys. As you guys know, it's always the longest segment. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this first break of the evening in a few moments, and we'll get back into what I have for you for college football, NBA basketball, followed by college basketball. We'll go NHL and wrap things up with the MLS, guys. But keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio for all the rest of your Florida sports needs. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And just like that, we're back, you guys, again, back with Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So along with a lot of happiness that came today on Sunday for as far as victory is concerned for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers and our Miami Dolphins, the same can be said about Saturday. I think for the first time this year, all of the big three college football teams won. So Florida won, Florida State won, and then of course Miami. So the significance behind that really is less to do with Miami and FSU and probably all to do with the Gators. That's kind of the point behind the pillow right now, guys. So Florida is back. Okay. I've spoken negatively about this team. I love this team with all my heart. But they didn't play well to start the season. As a matter of fact, 41-17 loss to Miami to start the season was just debilitating. It was absolutely horrific. This team has gone from that to now upsetting and ending the season for two SEC playoff hopeful teams. Starting with LSU, ranked 22, LSU still on the outside looking in, but a win against Florida would have kept them into the mix, especially with how Alabama went down and Georgia went down. Could have been monumental for them. Season ended with that loss to Florida, and then Florida comes back the following week, as in yesterday, and they're able to drop number 9, Ole Miss. Now, this is not the first time that the Florida Gators have upset a ranked Ole Miss team and knocked them essentially out of the playoffs. This actually happened a few years back. I want to say it was 2018, I think it was. Correct me if I'm correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, guys. I think it was 2018-2019 season, and the Gators had Will Grier starting at quarterback, and Ole Miss came down to the Swamp. They were ranked 3rd, and they had just put up 2 70-point games back to back. I think the weeks prior to this meeting, and the Gators would go on to dominate Ole Miss in the first half, 25-3, and I think they end up winning the game like 35-13 or something like that. I couldn't remember what the exact score was, but the Florida Gators absolutely put a whooping on Ole Miss. And so I say that to say that Ole Miss and the Gators have always had a solid rivalry as far as the two teams are concerned from a fundamental perspective. They don't play each other every year like the Gators and LSU do. But when they do play, it's almost always a tough game for both teams. And it's the same thing with Auburn as well. That's another team that I have to tip my hat off to in the West, that the Gators play consistently enough to say, yeah, when they do play, it's always a war, right? Like it's not like a one-sided affair like it was with Miami, with FSU this week. It's always a war, and it seems like these two franchises go up and down at the same time. So like if the Gators are going up, then Ole Miss is going down. But if Ole Miss is going up, the Gators are going down. And so that's something else that makes it really, really interesting. But for reference, guys, DJ Lagway does go 10 of 17 for 180 yards with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The interception was a very acrobatic, very Dick Grayson, for those of you who know your superheroes, type interception. It was definitely one of the more incredible interceptions of this year. But I say that to say that DJ's performance was still amazing. He was very, very solid, still not 100%, but played very solid football for the most part. There were a couple of questionable decisions by Billy Napier, and those things kind of still alarm me. He called a timeout. Well, not he, the team called a timeout, but he does take responsibility for it because no matter what, you can't call that timeout right now. But there was a timeout called when there were 30 seconds after an Ole Miss penalty that required a 10-second runoff. When you see something like that, it's just extremely frustrating as a fan and as somebody who also played the game and understands the strategy behind what's happening right now. So that's something else to take into consideration. But the Gators are still very, very dominant during that game against Ole Miss. Barring a couple of very flashy plays, the defense was absolutely phenomenal, more or less from start to finish. And again, if this team continues to play this way, it's going to be hard to find a better team coming out of the SEC East next year, guys. I'm not joking. DJ Lagway is the future, and this also has had huge implications on recruiting. If you guys haven't seen, the Gators have already flipped a 3 and a 4-star, and I think there are more that are coming. They hosted a ton of guys over the last 2 weeks against LSU and Ole Miss, and I think these 2 wins are hallmark wins that we're going to look back at next year and say, guys, y'all are surprised about Florida, but if you're a Gators fan, you're not. You guys know you're up next, and it's been a while for us, aside from that 1 year in 2020, with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and those boys. The Gators have been relatively bad over the last decade, and I think that this is something that finally is starting to turn the tables, and it starts with a true freshman, DJ Lagway, who has been an absolute godsend to us out of Willis, Texas. I can't tell you how happy I am to have this guy under center in running this offense, and I think, like I said, with him at the helm, the sky's the limit for us next year, and I fully suspect that before he leaves Florida, that we will be playing for a national championship. I believe that firmly, and that's not just my machismo or my faith for this team. Between what we've seen this year from this team and the fact that all these guys are true freshmen, give them a little bit of time and they're going to do special things, I think. Let's see what the chat has to say. All right, guys, talk to me. That's right. USF did win and did become bowl eligible. So proud of the Bulls. Good job, Bulls. We love you guys. So for reference, guys, the Bulls are obviously they're not a D1 school, but they play their college football games at Raymond James Stadium. That's where the Buccaneers play their football games. So a big second home for them. Just so proud of them becoming bowl eligible. This is a team that I really hope joins an actual conference to be able to get the recognition that they deserve, because realistically speaking, they've produced talent. Okay, JPP went to USF. For those of you who know him, he's 2-time Super Bowl champion. But he did go to USF along with a ton of other players that have been produced out of that college, and just a lot of love. And also for my job, for the record, guys, I actually work for the city of Tampa Bay, and we actually just did an event at USF. It was actually recycling day. So for those of you who don't recycle. But that's neither here or there. It was a pleasure to be there and to see all those guys show up for that event. And a lot of those guys are also on the football team. So congratulations to USF on becoming bowl eligible. Super proud of you guys for what you guys were able to accomplish this year. I don't know if anybody expected to see that, but again, just super proud of you guys. Super proud of you guys. All right, what else do we got? Yeah, it's a Gators pillow. Yep. Like it. So I'm not in my forever home yet, guys. So that's the only reason why you don't see like the banners. But I do have a Rays banner, a Bucks banner, and a couple of Gators banners that you would see along with my Batman thing up there, which is what used to be behind. But as soon as I do get to that location, guys, I will have those banners up so you guys will kind of see. But I bleed blue and orange. I mean, there's a lot of blue and orange around here. You guys come over, don't be surprised you see it. Okay. But yes, it is a Florida pillow. That's right. The Noles do suck, but that's okay because I'm a Gator fan. But the Noles do suck. It's true. But at the same time, I'm not going to say it's good for them to get a win because they beat Charleston Southern and that team is 1-11. So yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so big shout out to the NAIA champions, the Kaiser Seahawks. They went into that tournament as a number 1 seed. Looks like they got their first championship there out of West Palm Beach. And shout out to West Palm Beach for the hurricane, right? So for those of you who do not remember, Hurricane Milton actually got them kind of decent, and so shout out to them. What a turnaround it must be for them to go from experiencing that to it's unfortunate, but I'm super proud of them because it kind of reminds you of that fighting spirit, if you will, or New Orleans had that when they won their Super Bowl after Katrina. So I always kind of think about that as a reference. So congratulations to them. But yeah, big victory for those guys over there. And yeah, FSU. Yeah, we don't like FSU. We don't. It's going to be, it's not going to be a pretty sight next week, guys. And I'm saying that to also say that I haven't gotten off topic. Actually, the Florida Gators play FSU next week. So, and that game is going to be probably a massacre. All right. So I said that to say this. Unfortunately, FSU, we cannot take it easy on you. We have a bunch of true freshmen. This is the first time in Florida's over 100-year illustrious existence. Excuse me, my apologies. That the University of Florida has started a true freshman quarterback and a true freshman running back. Okay. So ever since Graham Mertz went down. So Graham Mertz, you guys might remember, he was the guy wearing number 15. The same game he got injured, Montrell Johnson got injured. So we lost our starters from the quarterback and running back perspective, which is how this situation happened. As it turns out, our true freshmen play a lot like juniors right now. These guys understand the playbook. They're all over the field. They're absolutely detrimental to defenses. And Jaden Ball carries this ball. I don't care. Like, I am enjoying him at running back. I love the future of this offense, especially with the talent that we have. I hate the fact that we're going to lose Montrell Johnson, Graham Mertz. We're going to lose DK, and we're going to lose Elijah Badger at the end of the season because they are seniors. I think Elijah Badger could come back and play another year. I don't think DK, if he could, he might, but I don't think he can. So just keep that in consideration when we're moving forward with the University of Florida. But we still have Eugene Wilson III. We still have a ton of players. We also Jack Johnson, not Jackson Johnson, who's over on injury reserve. He got injured earlier this year with a torn NCL, so he'll be back next year because he's a sophomore. So we have plenty of firepower returning to us the start of next year, but we will be losing our seniors. So shout out to those guys, and thank you so much for all the help because you guys were phenomenal, especially DK Badger. You guys really helped lift this wide receiver core out of the water and into the air where it should be. But yeah, like I said, Gators are playing Florida State next week. That's not going to be a pretty game. I'm kind of just molding the two together at this point. Like I said, Florida State did collect a win against Charleston Southern, 41-7 victory be the score of that game. It doesn't really mean much. Charleston Southern is a 1-11 school. They're the worst team in their conference, which is not even a D1 conference to begin with. So of course that game was going to be a gimme game for FSU, but they did get the W. It does give them some momentum riding into this rivalry week game, but I don't care. Florida is fresh off of 2 back-to-back victories against ranked teams, and with a quarterback who's only getting better at leading this team and a guy that looks eerily familiar to another guy who used to lead this team. And the point that I'm trying to make is not that they're similar, but the aura is there. And DJ he's the best thing that's happened to Florida since Tebow. Okay. I'm going to say that if Anthony Richardson had stayed at Florida for more than, that 1 year that he started for us, perhaps we could be saying the same thing about him, not to say that he didn't have the talent. He did. But realistically speaking, DJ he's the godsend. All right, guys. And of course, again, if you haven't seen the tape, go back and look at the tape over the last 2 weeks. Go look at his tape against Georgia before he got injured. Okay. Because if he doesn't get injured, we beat Georgia that game. I firmly believe that. That's neither here or there. For the Canes. All right, so the Canes, they played Wake Forest. Wake Forest is playing terrible football right now. They're rocking a 4-7 record. So we talked about that last week. There was no way the Canes were going to go in and bomb this game. They pulled it out. They won. 42-14 be the score of that game. The Canes, back ranked 8th again in the country. They've been here before at 10-1, are still sitting pretty much atop the ACC. I think that they're probably still the best team in the ACC, but I do agree with Larry saying that Florida is the best D1 team in Florida right now. Those 2 wins against LSU and Ole Miss, I think, are bigger wins than anything that Miami's really had on their schedule, realistically speaking. I think that though Miami has had some quality wins, when you look at the validity of the SEC, it's going to be hard to really acknowledge the wins that an ACC team has, just because they don't fight war after war after war every week. As a matter of fact, out of the 10 wins, 7 of them were cakewalks, right? So whenever you're experiencing that on a schedule, it's going to be a lot harder to earn the respect that is earned by like a Tennessee or a Georgia or an Ole Miss or an Alabama or a Florida in this specific situation. But nonetheless, they do take care of business against Wake Forest. Cam Ward goes 27 of 38, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Starting to become kind of a typical stat line for him. We knew this guy was going to be special. He is special. He's very calm under pressure, but I don't know if that being calm under pressure is going to help when you're dealing with teams that don't care about your defense. In college football, there are such teams that don't care about your defense, and you will see some of those teams in the playoffs, and including the SEC teams, including the teams that get help from the referees like Ohio State. But that's neither here or there. Realistically speaking, the point that I'm making is that Miami's going to have to put their big boy pants on, and they're going to have to get ready for some rough games. They will make the playoffs, I think, that they're good enough to be in it, but there are going to be some heavy hitters, Oregon, Ohio State. It looks like I'm not sure yet how the SEC is going to shape up as far as conference champion is concerned. It with Alabama and Georgia losing the way that they have this year, it's slightly unprecedented. I don't think people saw both these teams losing a combined 7-8 games. But realistically speaking, now that we're there and this is what we're dealing with, somebody's going to represent the SEC, and that team's still going to be a very dangerous team is the point that I'm making. So be prepared for that as well. It could be Miami versus another SEC team. And like I said, SEC always dangerous. So for the Canes next game, they're going to wrap their season up against Syracuse. Syracuse is 8-3. They're playing really, really good football for the most part. Again, it's ACC. So it's not, again, war after war after war, but still going to be a very, very good game. I'm going to try to watch that game. It's going to be Saturday, November 30th at 3:30 p.m. So I should be able to catch that game. But obviously with the Gators not playing later until 7, there are going to be a ton of other early games that are going to be on too, which I will be eyeballing those. Of course, there's still going to be Michigan, Ohio State. There's going to be the Iron Ball, Alabama, Auburn. And then, of course, the there's one other game. There's one other really big game. But the point being that there's going to be a ton of big games all before the Gator game. Gator game is going to be 7:30, so I'm not going to miss that. I'm not worried about that. But realistically speaking, going to be a ton of games to have to watch and to be able to report back for you guys and give you that information as far as what to expect. But I think the Miami can win this game. It's going to come down to how Cam Ward plays. But again, both these teams are playing really, really good football. If Cam does not turn the ball over, they have a great shot to beat Syracuse. I don't think Syracuse makes this a shootout. They're going to have to run the ball balanced if they're going to beat Miami. I just don't think that's an easy thing to do against Miami. And because of that, I think Cam Ward takes advantage of great field position and also takes advantage of the Isaiah Pacheco, however you say his last name. It's a very interesting name, or Xavier Pacheco. There we go. The guy's an absolute monster for Miami. The best receivers they had this year and in a very long time, in fact. And so I think that team is going to fight a really, really good fight, and I look forward to seeing what takes place there. like I said, Saturday, November 30th, 3:30 p.m., guys. That's going to be a really, really good game to check out. So I hope to see you there. Let's hit the chat real quick, guys. Let's hit the chat real quick. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think that Miami is that good, but I think that also, we're also, again, using the reference of the ACC. I think that when we think about conference, because the SEC is so dominant, it's one of those things where you look at other conferences, you're like, okay, like I said, you can be 10-1 all you want, but what does that really mean? I mean, so we saw Florida State, think that they belonged in, thought they had a national championship bid and didn't believe them when the country told them, hey, the only reason why you're in this position is because of your quarterback, bro. I mean, he's the reason why this team is good. It's not like the team is actually good. It's just him, okay? And they went and played Georgia without him, and Georgia showed them, hey, you guys aren't good. You think you're good. You think you deserve something. You didn't earn anything. You didn't. You think you did, but you didn't, okay? So let's just never forget that, right? Let's never forget that when we talk college football, right? Yeah, those FCS schools, man, yeah. You said it better than I could. You said it better than I could. Yeah, they're playing like local high school teams. It's true. There are some good high school teams who are actually in high school playoffs here in the state of Florida as well. I don't think that my Titans made it, but unfortunately, there's a bit of change in the guard there. You know how it is in football. You only got 4 years of high school. You can't do a fifth year, guys. So, yeah, it's all good though. Our boys are going to figure it out. October 3rd, 2015. Dang, I'm old. I said 18. I thought that was 18, 19. It was 15. Ranked 25 Gators take down number 3 Ole Miss. Will Greer. That's right. I'll never forget that guy. Will Greer, man. What a legend. He left here, went to West Virginia. I'm not going to lie. He looked good in the West Virginia uniform. But in any case, they topped Ole Miss 38-10. It was an absolute, just destruction of a ranked 3 Ole Miss team that was on fire that year, by the way. But yeah, you guys are right. Texas will definitely represent the SEC, which you guys know I'm happy about that. I love Texas. The whole time Texas was beating the crap out of Florida, I wasn't mad. I didn't even get upset one time because I love Texas that much. And also because I knew Florida just wasn't in position to deal with that. So we didn't have Graham Mertz or DJ Lagway for that game. So just take that in consideration. South Carolina and Clemson. Yes, South Carolina Clemson is going to be one heck of a game. South Carolina, man, they've been playing really, really good football. They're outside the SEC East. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But that will be a really, really good game. I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, I think South Carolina pulls it out. I don't think Clemson has it in them right now. This late into the playoffs, this late into the season, they've struggled to maintain who they are against just decent teams. And I think South Carolina is trending on being better than just decent. And I think that South Carolina takes that game and moves up a couple of spots and maybe even makes some noise there as a playoff bidding team. So that's it, though, for college football, guys. That's it for college football. Let's go ahead and get into our last break of the evening, guys. When we get back, we'll go ahead and wrap things up, and I'll have you on your way with some food for thought. But keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome to the 305, aka the Magic City, and this is Magic City Scoreboard. I'm your host, JB, and right here we're going to talk anything Miami. Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Hurricanes, Marlins, Panthers, Inter Miami, and even high school football. So join me once a week right here on Magic City Scoreboard on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed to all that is sports.
The roar of the crowd, the drama and pageantry, the adrenaline rush and decadence of the world of professional wrestling. Join yours truly, the SoCal Saint, for the best pro wrestling podcast going today, the IE Wrestling Show, exclusively on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Join us every Wednesday from 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, every Wednesday, the IE Wrestling Show. It's just too woo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. The answer to the question is no, guys. No, I'm not going to stop gripping this Florida Gators pillow because it's great to be a Florida Gator. Miami is playing basketball, or they were playing basketball right now. Now, I had the game on for a little bit, but I actually pulled it over to our colleague show over at Fast Break, and I actually was listening to their show while I was doing my notes for mines. And so I did not see what happened towards the end of the game. I can tell you that the last score that I saw was that Miami was up 89-84 on Dallas. If somebody could do me a favor and please post that score in the chat, I will say it on live. But for the record, like I said, that was the Miami Heat versus the Dallas Mavericks that I was watching before I popped over to their show. Heat rocking a 6-7 record. The Dallas Mavericks are rocking a 9-7 record. Miami is 2-2 over the last 4 games. They were actually dealing with a really, really long, not really, really long, just a couple of games losing streak. But again, no Jimmy Butler. Injuries have just kind of been back and forth with Miami since actually before the beginning of the season. And this is something that they've been dealing with over the last 3 years, realistically speaking. So the biggest thing for them is to be able to deal with the injury bug and to make it out of this situation, get Jimmy buckets back on the floor as quick as possible. But realistically speaking, it's early. We're still in the cup stage, the mid-cup stage there for this early season tournament. And, once the regular season starts, that's when things will become more of a priority, I think. But realistically speaking, again, this team is going to have to get healthy sooner than later because they have dealt with the injury bug really, really badly over the last 3 years. And Jimmy Buckets has just not been able to stay on the court, and we need him to find success. That's just the truth to the matter of that. The next game for the Heat is going to be against the Bucks. That's going to be Tuesday, November 26th at 7:30 p.m. Obviously, the Bucks haven't been playing basketball the way that we're accustomed to seeing them play basketball, so Miami's completely in this game. There's always an opportunity for them to win, but they're going to have to, again, you have to play complementary team basketball, and they're going to have to do it most likely without Jimmy Buckets because he still hasn't been cleared, to my knowledge, to return yet back to the squad, guys. Okay, cool. So the Heat did beat the Mavs 123-118. Thank you, Dad. I really appreciate that. Back to 7-7, so they're at 500 again, which is really, really good news for them. Again, at this point, like I said, injury bug. They just have to play complementary team basketball. If they can do that, they'll be able to dodge the issues that they're experiencing with the injury bug. But I hate to see this team in this kind of situation because they have the talent to compete, right? They've had the talent to compete this entire time, but it's hard when everybody's, in a blue tent. Well, there's not a blue tent in basketball, but you get what I mean. So Miami, good luck, guys, on that game against the Bucks again, Tuesday, November 26th, 7:30 p.m. That's going to be this Tuesday, 7:30. I think I can watch that game. I'll be home from work probably like 6-ish. So I should be able to watch that game. I don't think I have anything else coming up on Tuesday evening, so I should be able to watch that game. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Hopefully Miami can climb above 500 for only the second time, I think, early this season. And so the Orlando Magic. Okay, so the Orlando Magic are in a different situation. They do have an injury, but it's just to their star player. The rest of the team is able to play well. Franz Wagner right now is the catalyst to the Orlando Magic, and he's playing extremely well. The addition of KCP seems to really be rounding out this team as a whole, and I love to see where they're at right now. The Orlando Magic rocking an 11-7 record. They were able to beat up on the Pistons 111-110 or 100. The Pistons rocking a 7-11 record. They're playing better than they did last year. That's good for the Pistons. But the Magic getting that win was absolutely, enormous right now as they're staying afloat near the top of the East. I think that this team, when they're fully healthy, is as good as any team. They beat Boston a few times last year. I think this team can compete. I thought I've said this before, but during the offseason, I thought that they were 2 years away from having a complete team, and it turned out that they were just one. So right now, the way they're playing can't be understated. Shout out to Orlando Magic. Shout out to France Wagner and KCP and those boys balling out right now, an hour away from where I stay at. So eventually, one of these days, I'll get over there and go check an Orlando Magic game out. It's been forever since I've been to one, so it would be nice to get back up there. Like I said, it's only like an hour and a half away. So I'll see about that next year. Maybe I can squeeze that in there at some point and go check out an Orlando Magic game. Speaking of Orlando Magic games, the next one is going to be against the Hornets tomorrow at 7 p.m., guys. So Monday night, 7 p.m. If you're not doing anything at that time, go check that out. I'll be watching that game until Monday Night Football starts, and then obviously until Monday Night Raw starts as well, and then I'll be flipping between those two. But I'm looking forward to see what happens there. Hopefully they can pull that win. Hornets rocking a 6-10 record, not the best team in the NBA. Nothing really to worry about that, but not to be outdone from how successful the Orlando Magic have been. They have won 8 of their last 9. With that one loss coming a few games ago, but they have just been on fire since figuring out their footing, and it's even without their star player Blanchero. So, and hopefully he comes back sooner than later. We're missing him, and when he does get back, I can just only imagine how well this team will perform. I think the last time I saw it, they're like 4th in the East or something like that, so they're playing very, very well. Dad, shouts out to you. I know you love your Orlando Magic. Congratulations to them, and I hope they continue to find success there. Yeah, so the Florida Gators FSU team game is going to be at 7 p.m. for those of you who were wondering. So if you follow Florida sports, you guys know that they said that game will be to be determined. We knew it was going to be a night game, but it was to be determined up until about yesterday, I think it was. And they finally told us that it was going to be a 7 p.m. game. I think they were just waiting to see if FSU won the game just so they could have something positive to talk about. But I don't think there's anything positive for FSU to talk about, only for Florida to talk about. So I love that. Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty cool if they were actually at that game. Well, that's cool. I know he likes to, he likes to get him and his boy out there. So obviously that's a great opportunity for them to be able to experience. So moving down the line, though, guys, back to the Gators college basketball team. We're going to slide through there and talk about that. So Gators ranked 21 in the nation. They're 6-0. They're looking absolutely phenomenal. Let me tell you something. That Southern Illinois game was Gator basketball at its finest. Let me tell you, our team is very, very diverse. We have some tremendous perimeter guys in Martin and I forgot what the other point guard's name is. It was Martin and I hate when this happens to me. In any case, I don't worry. I know his name. I just forgot it off the top of my head. But I say that to say that this Florida Gators team is as deep, as big, and as accurate as it's been since Billy Donovan's been here. I absolutely love the roster that we have put together. We have a lot of penetration. We have a lot of bigs in rotation. I think we have 3 really, really good bigs in rotation right now. They all performed extremely well. Your guards, your shooting guards, and your point guards absolutely balled out, guys. We were destroying the 3-point line, ripping the net apart, both in the paint and outside the paint. Obviously, transition basketball was a fundamental thing for us, and it's something that we've been capitalizing on, and we were able to find a lot of success this year over these first couple of games in transition basketball by itself. Needless to say, like I said, when you're able to make it rain from 3-point land as accurate as Florida was in that game, it's going to be hard for any team to beat us. And I think that with the roster that we have, that we're in a great position to push for a deep run in the playoffs, guys, a deep run in March Madness. And I can't wait to see what this team's record is like at the end of January going into February. I think that we will stay ranked. I think that we'll be dangerous in the most dangerous conference in college basketball, the SEC. And so I look forward to it. I really, really look forward to it. All the SEC teams playing very, very well right now. So this is going to be a very aggressive March Madness, I think. I think we're going to see a lot of teams just fight war after war after war, and I think that's what we all came to see. So shout out to Florida for starting 6-0 for the first time in a long time. And obviously this team has what it takes. They're just going to have to stay healthy and continue to execute the plan, which is obviously get the ball inside to your bigs, be accurate from 3-point land, play tremendous defense, and don't forget transition basketball is our identity. And when we're scoring in transition, we're basically unstoppable, right? So the Gators' next game is going to be against Wake Forest. That's 6-1 Wake Forest. That's going to be Thursday, November 28th at 2:30 p.m. I'm going to miss that game. I will be yeah, we're going to be watching football. We're going to be watching NFL football. I'll see if I can like throw that because I have the Spectrum app on my my phone. So maybe I can watch that game on my phone and just pull the other game up on the TV, and I'll see if I can do that. But that game is going to be a 2:30 start time. I'll catch it if I can. Thanksgiving college basketball is always cool. But of course, we're going to have football as well. And I believe the Chicago Bears are going to be taking on the Detroit Lions in that game. So that's going to be a good old rivalry game there in the NFL for those of you looking forward to that game. So, but yeah, Gators going to go see Wake Forest. The score of the game against Southern Illinois was 93-68. Like I said, they splash bros all night long, guys. They were in the paint, bullying that team. Offensive rebounds were monumental for the Gators. And of course, like I said, transition basketball is the name of the game. And I think we really blew open the end of the first quarter, the first half with transition basketball by itself. I mean, there were a lot of spot up threes. There were a lot of ball movement in the paint from the baseline, from the top of the key, from half court. Just absolutely beautiful basketball on display by the Florida Gators there in that game against Southern Illinois. FSU. Okay, so FSU, they're playing basketball too. Now they're rocking a 6-1 record. They beat UMass 92-59. Now UMass isn't anything to write home about. They're 1-5 team right now. But a win is a win, and obviously you got to stack them. You stack them from beginning to end in college basketball, and they were able to do that there and improved to 6-1. So good job, FSU. Their next game is going to be against WCU Tuesday, November 26th, 7 p.m. So late start time for that one. WCU is actually rocking a 2-2 record. They're not exactly playing very, very good basketball. So by all accounts, FSU should move to 7-1, while the Gators move to 7-0. Fingers crossed, right? So the Canes, on the other hand, which was the best basketball team last year, or at least they started that way, they're rocking a 3-3 record. They lost to VCU 77-70 earlier today. That game was just unfortunate there. It did kind of come down late. There was a chance for Miami to win it, but the game just got away from them, and unfortunately they were never able to recover towards the end right there. VCU rocking a 5-2 record. Team's not playing too bad right now. They're sitting right there in the middle upper echelon of their conference as well. So congratulations to them on that victory against Miami. Miami has some work to do, but they got an easy game. Well, it should be an easy game next week against Charleston Southern. That game's going to be Saturday, November 30th at 2 p.m. Like I said, next week. They've got plenty of time between games right now to get some rest and try to figure out what they can do to right the ship, because right now they're struggling. And if they continue to struggle this way, they will not be seeing March Madness for any reason whatsoever. But again, Canes rocking a 3-3 record. They got to go get this W and get above 500, kind of keep their head above water, keep their nose clean, and mind their own business, right, guys? So you guys should do that right now, Miami. You don't want to let your football team down, all right? So chat real quick. Yeah, it could be. They could be 9-0 when they play UNC, and that's going to be a very, very big game. I think that UNC, they're a basketball team. University of North Carolina Tar Heels is where Michael Jordan went to play basketball. I was about to say Florida sports. Michael Jordan went there to play basketball. Actually, he got his chance against. For those of you who do not know, Michael Jordan actually hit the scene his sophomore year, I think it was his sophomore year, and what brought him out of the shell was about an 18-footer to beat Georgetown. It was a go-ahead 18-footer to beat Georgetown back in 1980. I'm showing my age, y'all. For the record, I'm 30, okay? So this was before I was born. I just do a lot of homework. But I want to say it was 1981, I think it was. Or 1980. Could have been 1980, 1981. Something like that. 1980, 1981. One of those 2 years. But hits a pull-up 18-footer to beat Georgetown, and it was just an absolutely big moment for him. And then literally after that, he saw a lot of playing time. He would go on to become the college basketball player of the year in his junior year, and I think also his senior year. So that was kind of what propelled him into Chicago. And once he got to Chicago, you guys know the rest. So there's a little history lesson for you guys there about the University of North Carolina. But Dad, you got a good point there. Shout out North Carolina, bro. That's a good basketball college right there. And Larry, yes, over 100 views, guys. Hey, I appreciate that so much. You guys have no idea what that means to me. Thank you so much, guys. What a wonderful Sunday this has shaped up to be, huh? Well, then, with that being said, we've talked college basketball. We've talked Knowles Canes. Let's go ahead and get into what's going on with the Bolts and the Panthers over in the NHL real quick, guys. So the Bolts, they're struggling right now. They're 10-7. They're not exactly playing the best hockey that they've played. We lost to the Stars 4-2 earlier yesterday, I think that was. Now, to be fair, the Stars are actually playing relatively good hockey. They're 13-6 right now, so they're doing pretty good. But obviously, the Bolts are going to have to shape up if they want to get better. It's funny because right now, I think we're actually sporting both the best goalie in Vasilevsky and then the worst goalie in hockey at the same time. And this is something I've never seen before. I have to admit, the Bolts are known for having tremendous goalies. I can't tell you the last time we really had a bad one, actually. Just something to take into consideration for Bolts hockey moving forward. What an interesting and yet chaotic year it's going to be. The Panthers aren't even in first place anymore. So just take that in consideration. Both of our teams are struggling, but hey, this is still a very, very grounded hockey team. I'm not going to say that, like I said, Vasilevsky's still the best goalie in hockey, okay? I mean, you argue with a wall. I don't care. The guy's an absolute phenomenon. Like, I enjoy watching him play, but the rest of this team is going to have to shape up. We're struggling on defense at times. It's like we get lost in space. We're seeing a lot of teams score on power plays against us, and we've got to stay out of the penalty box. There's a lot of things that we could do better, right? Like, obviously, we're a talented team. We're probably always going to remain a talented team, but in order for us to win, we're going to have to shape up those little things that are really, really costing us. And like I said, specifically, it's got to be defense and giving up these power plays, man. We've got to be able to fix those things. And if we could do that, we can start to find some success and creep back up there at the top of the Atlantic division, right? So hopefully that's what happens there. But the next game for the Bolts is going to be against the Avalanche. The Avalanche are walking a 12-9 record, so this team is just floating above 500 right now. This could be an example of a way for us to find some momentum and try to start stacking some W's. And if it starts there with the Avalanche, let's kind of hope that it continues moving forward. That game's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m., so if you guys want to check out that game, you'll probably be bouncing back and forth between that one and the Florida State basketball game. So just taking consideration, there's going to be a ton of basketball and hockey coming your way tomorrow and Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Just get ready for that, guys, if you're going to check it out. I probably won't be able to catch that game, seeing as how we have both Magic basketball and FSU basketball. But in the event that I can, I will. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, guys. The Panthers, right? So like I said, the Panthers are no longer in first place in the Atlantic. They're struggling right now. They just lost a game to the Avalanche, who are about to go play the Bolts on tomorrow. That game was a 7-4 loss. And when you see a team giving up 7 goals, that's alarming, right? So like I said, the Panthers are struggling right now. Of course, the Panthers are also in a place where they lost a really, really good goalie. So they're in a position where they kind of just dancing what brought them. And unfortunately, that led to a really nasty loss there against the Avalanche last night. So hopefully the Panthers can try to figure it out. Their next game is going to be against the Capitals, rocking the exact same record, a 13-6 record as the Stars. So there's going to be a little continuity there as far as record is concerned for the Florida team, just a separate team playing the 13-6 Capitals team. Again, the Panthers need to find a way to start stacking some W's right now. After a loss, it's all about momentum. Momentum is a huge part of sports. And I think this is an example of, if this team does not get the momentum back, they will struggle to find success, moving forward, especially against a team that's playing well, right? In the Capitals. Again, 13-6 be the record for the Capitals. That game is going to be also tomorrow at 7 p.m. So a lot of hockey, a lot of basketball tomorrow, and Tuesday night at 7:30 respectively, guys. So get ready for that game. Good luck, Panthers. It's going to come down to something similar. They've also got to get better staying outside of the penalty box and, of course, with the power plays. But I think offensively, they've been pretty good for the most part. They haven't really taken a step back offensively. I just think that some of the transition that has fallen off for them. I think that they were better in transition last year than what we've seen so far this year, and that's something that they're going to have to clean up, especially when you're letting the Capitals score 7 goals on you, right? So just take that in consideration for the Panthers moving forward. To wrap things up, guys, we have Orlando City, of course. No Inter Miami. Inter Miami got knocked out by Atlanta, who just got knocked out by Orlando. So shout out to you guys, Orlando. We thank you very, very much for getting payback for Inter Miami there against Atlanta and knocking them out in a 1-0 victory there. That was a 1-0 final for them. ensuring that Orlando City has now moved on to the conference championship. So shout out to Orlando. Big ups to you guys. Congratulations on making it this far. I said this a few weeks ago, and I want to revert back to this real quick, not necessarily to pat myself on the back, but just for you guys to remember. When the regular season ended, I said that I thought that the second best team besides Miami in the East was going to be Orlando City, and it was. It turned out to be that is the case. And like I said, Orlando City's just been playing tremendous soccer since the end of the season. They ended the season on a high note, and they've just continued to bring it against Atlanta. Like I said, the team that knocked off Miami, they knocked off Columbus before that to get here, and now they're getting ready to fight the New York Red Bulls in the conference championship with a chance to play for the big one. Congratulations, Orlando. I can't state how proud of you we are. Proud of us, or proud of you we are, for the way that you have carried yourselves moving forward after that second loss to Columbus, I think it was, that you guys had. And I got a little tongue-tied there because I was kind of trying to go back into the records and remember which team it was. But you guys really pulled together after that break and really started playing tremendous soccer. So super proud of you guys. And congratulations again on making it this far. Good luck. We hope you guys knock out New York and move on to the championship. Fingers crossed, prayers up for you guys. Just all the love in the world. That game is going to be Saturday, November 30th at 7:30. So we're a week away from that game. So get ready to knock that one's going to be a great game to watch. Again, like I said, conference championship on the line. Going to be a great soccer game. And I'm looking forward to seeing Orlando bring home the W and close that series out in order to move into the championship game. Godspeed to you boys. And we'll see you in 6 days. Quick check over to the chat. Oh, man, I'm so close. See, look at that, Dad. Look, come on now. Y'all got to admit, that's impressive, right? So it wasn't 81. It was 82. But, yeah, that was the championship that they were able to win with UNC was able to win with Michael Jordan at the helm there. And he was a young guy, man. He was young. He still had hair. That's how long ago we're talking. And for also future reference, 10 years later in 1993, UNC would once again host the NCAA National Championship after defeating Michigan in a very, very weird ending. For those of you who can remember that far back in 1993, yeah, it was a very, very chaotic ending. Webb called a timeout that they did not have. And it was a technical foul leading to 2 free shots for UNC as time ran out and expired, and made a 4-point game. And, regardless of what Michigan did, they weren't going to be able to tie. So it was an unfortunate loss for Michigan, but a 10-year gap between championships for UNC in that. So yeah, random history lesson for you guys when it comes to sports. But guys, hey, listen, that's it. That's all I got for you this evening, man. It's been a pleasure to speak with you guys this evening. I can't say enough how much I enjoyed it. And of course, don't go anywhere over on IE Sports Radio. We're getting ready to have up next the Mile High Musings with Aaron Yowell, talking all things Colorado sports over at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that started 17 minutes ago, but our shows do not run into each other. So if you're looking for another show like my own, that's going to be the very next one up on IE Sports Radio. Like I said, Colorado sports is going to be the topic, and they have a lot to talk about, especially after yesterday's game and the lack thereof of proper officiating. I will leave that for Mr. Aaron to handle moving forward. But from me to you guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. It's been my pleasure to bring to you the topic of discussion as far as sports is concerned out of the Sunshine State and the world of sports coming out of Florida, guys. Until next time, you guys enjoy the work week. I go back to work tomorrow. It's getting cool outside. I'm going to enjoy the weather, but I'm going to get my job done and hopefully, get home early to the rest of my family. Super excited to see what this week has to bring us as we inch closer to Thanksgiving, and then soon after that, Christmas. Spend time with your loved ones, guys. For me, this is food, family, football time, my favorite time of year, and I hope it's your favorite time too. Again, thank you so much for joining me here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name has been Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you in part by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Until next time, until next Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will see you. Peace.